I took my design and actually created a pillow from it. So I hope we get to see what you do with it. Here's the instructions.
Thanks. So I want 260 by 260 hoop. I'm going to do OK. I'm going to go to the Create tab. I'm going to do Project and Hoop, pick on the key ring, do Next. I'm going to change this to the sewing machine key ring, and I'm going to do Finish. I have the sewing machine here right now, and I want to actually make a couple of changes. So the first thing I'm going to do is a right mouse button, and I'm going to go to motif line 1. I don't want the sewing machine to have as big a heavy bean stitch that is, so I'm going to go to Universal, Husqvarna Viking, leave it as stitch 1, leave fit to line, and a triple stitch. That's just going to make it a little bit heavy, but not quite as heavy as that bean stitch was, and we're going to do OK. Now, because I still have green boxes, I can change the size. I need this sewing machine to be pretty small, so I'm going to go Home, I'm going to go to Modify Design, and I'm going to change this to 100. That little baby is pretty small, but all I want is that sewing machine. So what I need to do is to go to the Modify tab, but to do that first, I need to fix the stitches. Do a right mouse, fix the stitches, go to Modify. I'm only unchecking number 6, which happens to be the sewing machine. I'm going to uncheck that, select all visible, delete. They're all gone. I'm going to zoom into the sewing machine because there's a couple more things we need to get rid of. I don't care about some of the stitches here. They can all stay. It's a pretty small thing, and it's going to be done like kind of like a red work, but I really don't need these extra stitches with the needle. I'm going to get rid of that. So to do that, I'm going to slide this little slider until all I see is that needle part. I can go back up a little bit. Oop. I'm going to do select all visible, and I'm going to do delete. Now I could get rid of the thread up here too, but it kind of adds to the design itself, and we're going to leave those there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Home. I now have my little sewing machine, and if I zoom out, it's pretty little. So I'm going to actually copy this so that it's put into my clipboard because I'm going to do it a couple of different ways. I'm going to hit that, double click that black, and we're going to make it red. So it's the little red sewing machine. Okay, so now that I've changed my sewing machine to the little red sewing machine, I've changed the thread color, I need to actually do a copy so that it actually is down in my clipboard. I'm going to do a right mouse and I'm going to do a copy. So it's now down in my clipboard. I'm on the Encore tab and I have line chosen, I have a straight line, I have 6 repeats, preview. And now I want to stretch this out so that it's just another grid line out. So it's about 14 going across or 7 on one side of the center. I'm going to do apply. So I now have my little sewing machine there. Now I want to go and I need to paste this guy into my screen again. So I can do a right mouse and paste, or I can do a Control V like Victor. And now I want to have 10 repeats. Preview. And I need to stretch it out. So it's going to stretch almost out there to that one, and I can actually see that it's going to line up pretty good with the other one. So oops, I went too far. So it's about there. So you want to kind of make sure that they're lined up nice and even so that when you start bringing them down, they're together. So I'm going to hit apply. I'm going to move this one about 4 grid lines up from the bottom, this one about 4 grid lines down from the top, which is about, and it doesn't really matter. I'm going to kind of set it off to the right a little bit. It's not going to hurt anything because we're going to use alignment here in a minute. I'm going to go Home. I'm going to do Combine Selected, Color Sort, and now what I want to do is I want to duplicate this. So I'm just going to do a Control D, or I could hit duplicate up here at the top, and I need a total of 4 of those, and I can move them around if I want to. It's not going to hurt anything because we're going to use those alignment capabilities that's in our software to line things up really nicely. Now I need this one. I'm going to select it, and actually this one, it's okay. Combine Selected, Color Sort, and I had that 4 grid squares up from the top, and I actually want it here. So now what I want to do is I'm going to do a Control D and a Control D. This is the one I want 4 grid lines up from the bottom. towards the right. You can move this here somewhere. It doesn't matter because I need this to be 4 from the top and 4 from the bottom. I'm going to do a Control A, or you could actually do a Select All. Alignment, I'm going to do alignment, and I'm going to align to the right. So all of them are lined up perfectly with each other down the right-hand side. Then I'm going to do alignment, vertical alignment, distribute vertically. So now they're evenly distributed. Now I'm going to center in the hoop. So that's all there is to doing the stripes for the sewing machines.
Well, when I started doing this, I decided there were too many sewing machines. I really only wanted it 5 across instead of 6. So I'm going to go over to the Modify tab, and I'm going to do Box Select, and I'm going to just grab that first set of sewing machines, and then I'm going to hit Delete. But you notice there's this little jump stitch, so I'm going to do Select Stitches. I'm going to grab it, and I'm just going to slide that into the sewing machine just so it doesn't have a big long jump. Now let's go over to the Frame tab. So I'm going to go into Frame, and I now need to get all those spools of thread that go in here. So what we're going to do is make sure that nothing is selected. I'm going to make sure that Motif Underline is selected, which is that little star. I'm going to go to Select Motif. I'm going to Husqvarna Viking, Children's Stitches. That's that spool of thread, which is stitch number 32. I'm making sure nothing here is selected. I'm going to change just the width, not the height. I'm going to leave the height the same. I want to change the width. So I'm going to check proportional. And I'm going to change that. Okay, let's go. Okay, so here on the Frame tab, I want to make sure that Motif Underline is selected. Select Motif. I'm going to make sure the group is Husqvarna Viking, category is H, pattern is 32. I don't want any of this selected. I'm just doing a running stitch. This is a pretty small stitch. I didn't really want to make it too small. And make sure that you uncheck proportional and change the width to 32. If you notice, I'm going to just go and change a different stitch, and I'm going to come back here, and I'll come back to the sewing machine, or this thread. You notice the regular width is 36. So you want to change just the width. So make sure you uncheck proportional. I'm going to change that to 20. We're going to do OK. Make sure you have only one repeat selected, not the length, but repeats is 1. Nothing is selected on my screen, and I'm going to hit Apply. I need to make some changes to this before I do anything else, because if you notice, if I zoom in, you'll notice that there's this row of stitches, threads, but I don't want that for this. You could leave it if you wanted to. I chose not to because of what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to go over to the Modify tab with that selected. I'm going to watch this play out, and I want to get rid of those stitches from my view all the way up to where that row of threads look like. But I went a little bit too far. I'm going to back up just a little bit. Oh, too much. I've got just that part of it. I'm going to do Select All Visible, and I'm going to hit Delete. So now all I have is that spool of thread. So now what I want to do is I am going to go to the Encore tab. I'm going to make sure that this is selected, and I'm going to do a right mouse, and I'm going to do a copy. So now it's down in my clipboard. I need to do a right mouse. I'm going to do Properties. I'm rotating it by 90 degrees. Do OK. So now it's standing on its head. And I want straight line. Choose the layout as line. You want to do the line options there. And this time I want 6 repeats for this. And I'm going to zoom out so you can kind of see this a little better. So I'm going to do zoom to fit. Oops, zoom to fit. I got 6 repeats. I'm going to do preview. And I'm going to kind of move it up here. Kind of gave me an idea of how big I wanted this to be. And it's about 12 grid squares. So somewhere right in there. You don't have to make it exact, but about there. Once you've done that, don't forget to hit Apply. Now what I want to do is I need to make this its own entity. So it's not grouped with multiple parts. I'm going to do a right mouse. I'm going to do Combine Selected. So now they are one. I know I'll do the color sorting later here. Now I need to paste that spool of thread again. So I'm just going to do I'm going to do a Control V, like in Victor. This time I don't want to rotate it. I still want the straight line, but I only want 5 repeats. Preview. And I'm going to grab that so that it's up here so that I can kind of see how it's going to look right underneath here. And I'm going to kind of center that one spool of thread and start stretching it. And it's about 10, so that they should line up. And if you want, you can actually lay these up on top of each other because we're not going to leave them there. So you can kind of play with it till it looks pretty good. And I'm going to slide it back down here a little bit. And I'm going to do apply. Don't forget to do your apply because that is a problem if you do. If you forget it. So right mouse, I'm going to do combine selected. So now I have those together. Now I want to take this one, and I'm going to hold my control key, and I'm going to select this one. I'm going to do a Control D like in David. Put one down here. Don't worry about lining them up. We're going to do that here in a minute. I want to make sure that I end up with 50 spools of thread or 50 stars because that's how many we have. But right now I don't. I only have 44 stars. So I need to get to, you can actually pick on this one that's right here. I'm going to do a Control D. So I just get that one, slide it down here. Now, you want to take this bottom one and move it so that it is kind of in line with your sewing machine. You want to take this one and make sure that it's near the top of that sewing machine. Now I want all of these. So I've got that one selected. I'm going to slide down here, hold my Shift key, and I've got this one selected. Make sure that this one is selected, and come down here, and you should be able to select that bottom one, and you should have all of them selected. We're going to go Home. We're going to do Alignment, Horizontal Alignment, Align the Center, Alignment, Vertical Alignment, and Distribute Vertically. So now they're all nice and evenly spaced. And I'm just going to put that right in there somewhere. I'm going to now add some letters. And the letter font I used, I went into Letter. I'm in Eclipse, which is part of the modern category, Eclipse. And then I'm just going to get out of there, and I'm going to type in Threads of Freedom or whatever you want. And I just left it the size it was. And then I started messing with it a little bit, and I kind of decided I wanted it to be a little bit bigger. So you can mess with that. Remember, these are green. The other thing you can do is kind of spread your letters out just a little bit. I'm going to do a right mouse button, and I'm going to do Edit Lettering, and I can stretch them out so that there's a little bit of a gap between those letters so they're not quite so close. So let's see what 10 looks like. Let me just do OK. So that kind of spread it out a little bit. I kind of like that a little bit more. And then the other one was 1776 to 2026. I'm going to do Apply. And I'm going to slide that one down here. And again, I think it's a little bit close, so I'm going to do Edit Lettering. I'm going to put the gap in at 10 again. Okay, that spreads it out. Now I want to make sure that this here is a group. Let's make this into a group. This guy, and I've got that selected, and I'm going to hit my Shift key and make that so that that becomes a group. And then I want this and this to become a group. Group, or select, right mouse, and I'm going to do another group so that those become one. Now I want to make sure everything's lined up top to bottom. Grab your first group. I'm going to hold my Control key and grab these other two. Again, go to the Home tab, Alignment, Align Center, and then Vertical, Distribute Vertically, and it kind of spreads them out. And I'm going to do the whole thing, make sure it's center in the hoop. So now don't forget to do your Save As and your Export so you have all that information. Remember that if you don't remember what things are that are made up in here, don't forget. I'm going to just reveal groups here for a minute. So I've got this sewing machine. All of the information about the sewing machine is here. The spools of thread, all the information are here. So don't forget you can do that. So before I completely forget, I'm going to do a color sort. I'm gonna combine all, and color sort. So everything. So I only have those three stops. Um, I hope you actually do this and actually stitch it out. I'd love to see your versions. Maybe you don't use the spools of thread. Maybe you use stars instead. I just, because of the theme of what I was trying to do was sewing related. That's why I use the spools of thread. Maybe you want to leave them as large as they are. Just try a few things, and thanks for watching.